welcome. My name is Brian Caplen, editor of The Banker. I'm here with James King, the Middle East editor, and we're reviewing the top 1,000 rankings. So James, tell us a little bit about the situation with the Middle East. I mean, how are the Gulf banks doing in the Middle East rankings this year?
Well, once again, the Gulf banks have posted quite impressive growth figures for the year. Total profits for the whole region were up about $4 billion in this year's rankings. And this was driven by largely by Saudi and Emirati banks who are sort of benefiting from the massive infrastructure projects taking place in their countries, but also from an increase in M&A activity across the region.
All right, so let's talk about that M&A. I mean, that's been a phenomenon for a while, hasn't it? So you've seen Gulf countries, obviously they're constrained a little bit by having very small domestic markets, and they've started to acquire banks throughout the region. So what impact is that having?
That's right. So 2013 was a very active year sort of on the M&A side in the Middle East, and we saw obviously Qatari banks in particular pushing abroad quite aggressively. We saw major acquisitions in Egypt by QNB and also in Turkey by the Commercial Bank of Qatar. So they're looking for these larger growth markets with huge potential outside of their domestic sphere to push their growth in the coming years.
Okay. All right, now, I mean, there's been a big rise of Islamic banking across the world, but also across the region. What sort of impact is that having on the top 1,000? Because we do obviously do a separate ranking of Islamic banks later in the year.
Sure. Well, I mean, in this year's rankings, we saw 3 Islamic banks feature in the top 10 highest movers. So it really sort of reflects quite well on the sector as a whole, and obviously the opportunities they're finding for growth in the region. And I think we can see this pushing forward into next year as they look into sectors like SMEs and this kind of thing to really accelerate their growth.
Okay, we'll see how that plays out in years to come. Thank you very much.